Actually made the connection better, so that the one is the situation.
I know I look good in the woman shirt. Yeah. Oh man, you ain't even put me live right.
Are you? Hello.
Yeah.
Did they hear that?
So.
Okay, let me go back to normal mode. Let me do a quick calibration. Hello, everyone. We are currently live. So let's just wait for a couple of users to jump in. Right now, we are currently doing a system connection so that everyone can see the quick process. All right, there we go. So again, this is Daniel. Welcome everyone who's joining us. Right now we have Alex also on a different video, so you guys can also, we can all converse here and then just discuss what the different updates that we have today. We got a couple of features that we're going to be covering. Also, we're going to be going over a lot of, new, some of the bases that we've been covering with Unreal Engine and what's coming in down the line, down the pipeline. We constantly get a lot of emails, so we're always going back and forth with a lot of users who are requesting new features, a couple of bugs here and there. We're always trying to get the cutting edge with the plugin. So we're going to wait a couple of more seconds, maybe a minute or two, so everyone can join for this live stream. And we're just going to hang in tight there. Let me go ahead and get my quick slideshow ready to go so that we can get started with this portion of the live stream.
As Daniel's getting that ready, I just kind of wanted to, I'll bring this up again at the end, but I dropped a link down in the chat. So there is a Discord channel now. It is going to be primarily community driven, and we'll be getting there. But what we really want to do was create a space for those that are using Perception Neuron, and those that are interested in joining the Perception Neuron family, to be able to start talking and discussing whether that's something that you're looking for someone to work on a project, or you need Mocap, or you want to collaborate with someone. So really just kind of create this open community where we'll be inside, we'll be giving insight, information, the latest updates. And again, just a safe space for our community to get together. But again, if you need anything that is related to customer support or service, always email us at contact@neuronmocap.com. And sorry, my audio is low, so I will check that.
All right. Great, guys. Let me know if my audio is working good. We are currently going to get started with the presentation and keep it nice and short. So, again, this is Mocap Today, webinar series that we're just doing for everyone to join in and learn a lot of things that we're coming up with lately. For this series, we're going to be talking about the Unreal Engine, real time with Unreal Engine, and then it's going to be talking about version 5, which is everyone is slowly adjusting to and migrating over to. So we want to make sure that we're up to date with the features. A quick overview of what we're going to be discussing today. Essentially, we're going to be discussing about the plugin availability, just in case if anybody wants to know where is the plugin, where can I get it. We're going to talk about that. We have the plugins in the Unreal Engine Marketplace. That's the official release. We do have beta versions available at github.com. You can see our link there. We have our developers releasing some beta versions that users can test out. So if you do want to test it out, more than happy to. You can give us some feedback. Of course, using the GitHub version is beta version, so we don't want anyone to be using this during production. Going to the next section here, we're going to be talking about retargeting video that Unreal Engine recently released about a week and a half ago. It was a webinar series that just covers a lot of the retargeting topics. We get a lot of emails from customers about the same questions regarding how to retarget, FBX files or even real-time data. They're coming up with a lot of new features and a lot of tools that users can use for their for the pipeline, and it's a great video. I'll share that in a little bit, and we'll do a quick demo walkthrough. Essentially, we're going to be just reviewing where the plugin location should be with Unreal Engine. We're going to talk about the Access Studio widget as well. We're going to have a quick brief on the mannequin metahumans. This is typically covering characters who are in an A pose, essentially. And we're going to talk about Mixamo, generic characters, which are typically in a T pose. So we're going to go also introduce, this is brand new. Our team just released this yesterday. We last the last release that we had, we basically released the Neuron blend to correct foot data for the metahumans. Now we're looking beyond that with other characters inside of Unreal. So we're adding a new node, and this is kind of like a funny, I guess, little name here that the dev team came up with. This is the foot skate cleanup. So we're gonna go just review that real quick, so everyone can have a quick introduction. This, as of this video, this is only available on GitHub. Okay. So, any questions so far before I get started?
No, I think I don't see anything on the chat. The only thing that I will bring up, just for clarification, when Daniel says the foot sliding or sort of the skate, you'll see that because Daniel will demonstrate it. But for those of you that aren't familiar, it usually takes place when you're trying to retarget your character from any type of skeleton or any motion capture data. And you notice that the feet almost have this sort of like gliding effect where it doesn't look like you're stable on the ground. And again, the new GitHub link that we have on there for the Unreal plugin is meant to fix that for multiple different skeleton iterations, depending on where you're getting your skeleton from. But that will be added onto the official Live Link plugin very soon, right? We just updated it recently for the metahumans, and now we're adding this new feature in the coming days. I would probably assume once it gets through marketplace approval.
Great. All right. So just going back to the first slide, talking about the plugin availability, make sure everyone checks our Unreal Engine Marketplace. And also, because we're talking a little bit more about beta testing stuff, plugins that our team is releasing, make sure you also visit our GitHub page. I'll go ahead and click that so you have a look. We have a couple of beta plugins available there. If you click on the Neuron Retarget UE, which is the plugin I'm going to go over with, our team has released a beta version of this for everyone to use. So make sure you visit our page so you don't miss out on a lot of these new features. So let's go ahead and make sure that I am back in full screen here. So back to what I was just walking everyone through. The next slide is going to cover essentially the UE retargeting tutorial. This tutorial is available on the Unreal Engine YouTube channel. There's a link for everyone to look. I'll copy this link as well into the YouTube release of this video. This is provided by Jose and Kiara, and these are great. This was a great talk from Unreal Engine, just talking about the offline retargeting process workflow, understanding the different retargeting workflows, and using their new IK retargeting tool. These are tools not to overlook, definitely to add to your pipeline. They use some creative ways of retargeting data over to a line. So think about that. That was a great way to use that tool for a character you normally wouldn't consider to animate with a biped scenario. So the next section I'm going to go through is the plugin location. Again, this is just to cover a couple of the bases, make sure everyone knows where the plugin is located. Going back to the marketplace link here, if you go into the Unreal Engine Unreal Engine market here, you'll see that we have the plugin available from this page here. Just simply go into our page, go into Neuron as a search, and you'll find out our plugin is there. Once that plugin is added to your scene, you essentially go into the plugins area and add that over here. You'll see that under the animation, we have our Neuron Live Link already activated, and then coming soon is the Neuron Retargeting plugin. So again, these are where your plugin should be located. And then basically to add those plugins, you go into the Windows. This is a Live Link process. So you want to make sure you go to virtual production and then live link. And then you'll see that my plugin is already added there. So everything just covers basically how to set up your Unreal. We'll have a couple of tutorials ready very soon on that topic as well. So everyone can enjoy a lot of the features that we have. Again, I just want to reiterate, our team released an Access Studio Unreal Engine widget for you. Now this widget essentially connects, and my apologies for going over. This widget connects to Access Studio. You want to make sure that you set up your live link correct. Again, we'll have a couple of videos on this shortly. Essentially, that this tool is going to connect to Access Studio. So we're getting a bi-directional communication. We're getting a feedback here. All right, so going back to the widget here, you see that the widget is connecting to Access Studio. We have functions to record. This is going to allow us to record inside of Access Studio. We're going to have functions to do back to origin, also do a calibration for all, and restore posture. Now, this plugin is available on the toolbar there, so anyone can just click and use that for your production there. Going into the next slide here, we have the mannequin MetaHuman quick demonstration. Again, this covers characters are typically in an A pose. I'll walk you through a quick step setup to do that. Again, we'll have another video on that a little bit more in detail. Any questions that we have so far, Alex?
No, let me mute myself really quick. I think I'm only seeing, I don't know which. You were only on the Unreal window, and it was only showing a side view of your arm.
Oh, right. Well, we're going to walk through the, yeah, that's me right there using a mannequin character. Right. Okay. No. Yeah. Definitely. This is basically real time. As you can see, this is real time that I've already set up with the Mixamo. I'll walk you through it shortly with that process. What I wanted to go through is basically set up the. Let's go ahead and get rid of this character for now. We don't need this character right now. And then essentially, what I'm going to walk you through is just setting up the MetaHuman's workflow here. Now, this workflow, if let's click and drag this over to our scene. Now, this workflow covers characters, again, that are A pose. Typically, the mannequin. You also have the metahumans that covers that. A lot of characters nowadays are in the T pose as well. So just bear with me 1 second here while I wait for my computer to refresh. All right. Any other questions while we wait for the computer to import this character to the scene? No questions so far. All right. So this is going to be a quick setup. So I'm waiting for Unreal Engine to import this character over to our scene here. And what I'll do is I'll double click on the blueprint of this character here. We're going to essentially do a lot of the work inside of looking through the viewport, right? So I'm using this character. I like this character because it has a lot of hair follicles, a lot of dynamics into it. So it's really fun to work with this character. Let's go ahead and just make sure that we are using. I'm essentially updating the LOD of this character. I like to use 5 just for the sake of just doing a quick demonstration of this. If you have a stronger computer, you can more than happy change this to 0 to get full definition. So let's get started by setting up the blueprint, the animation first for this character. So what I need to do essentially is locate the skeletal mesh of this character. I'll go into the details panel here, select the little eyeglass there, and then we essentially have the character's skeletal mesh right here. What I'll do is I'll create an animation blueprint out of this. I'll go ahead and right click, go to create animation blueprint. And like every typical naming convention, you want to make sure you have a BP for animation blueprint. And then now we have the animation blueprint for this character. So I'll double click on this. And now we have the animation blueprint for this character. What I'll do now is essentially add the live link pose to this here. Now, once we have this setup going, you want to make sure that you have the data from from our plugin, Virtual Production Live Link, and make sure you have the data. You see that we have CHR01. What I'll essentially do is update that into our Live Link pose here. Select that as my character data that I want to send over to our output pose. Now, this is our old process that we were showing before with the live link. I want to show you the new version that we're using now. We're using Neuron Blend at this point for the retargeting. So let me go ahead and type in Neuron Blend. This is the new node that we're using for MetaHumans. So I'll go ahead and update this with CHR01. I'll feed this over to our output pose. If I hit compile, all right, we'll see that we have, at the moment, we're just getting simple data from this character. Let's go ahead and update this to the UE mannequin human data here. So one more thing that we need to do is you see how the character's arms are crossed at the moment. What I need to do is go into Access Studio, and I go into the settings, and I'm going to update this for the sake of the MetaHuman setup. I'll change this over the skeleton to the MetaHumans. Okay, so make sure you select MetaHumans. We'll enable displacement. Click on OK. And if we go back to the scene here, we have the character receiving our data. So again, you want to make sure that the skeleton is updated for MetaHumans. For this selection, we want to make sure we're using Neuron Blend. And also inside of this, just select the retarget for MetaHumans. You can also choose the mannequin as well if you're using the mannequin character is using a mannequin skeleton. So the next thing that we're going to do, I have the data already going into this character. Let's make sure we save, compile, and save all this information. Now we're going to go ahead and add a live link skeletal animation here. All right. So that's going to allow us to import this to our scene here. So what I'll do is I'll go into the MetaHumans here again. Let's go into content. I'll go into the MetaHumans, select my character. I'll bring this character over to our scene. Okay, let me make sure I hit compile. Okay, and actually one more step that I need to do, of course, I need to update the blueprint. So I want to say use animation blueprint. So I need to select the blueprint that I just created here. So this is the ABP MetaHuman. And then you see that now my blueprint is receiving my data. I'll click on compile. Right, and now we see that the character is receiving my data inside of Unreal Engine. And thanks to our Neuron blend provided by our developers, we have clean contact data on the floor. So the animation looks great. There's no magic trick here. There's no, everything is essentially receiving data from Access Studio. Any other questions so far?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
That you can answer in the chat. So let's say that prior to the neuron blend, someone records animations.
Right.
Are they able to use neuron blend afterwards to help clean up any foot contact?
So that's a good question. The Neuron blend right now is only available for live link at the moment. That's more or less of retargeting to IK function, which is the video I recommended to users to have a look how to fix that data. You might have to bake the data into the control rig to get some, some cleanup data. However, again, we'll do some tutorial videos on that. That's a great question. But right now, the Neuron blend is only available for the live link at the moment.
But let's say I record something in Unreal using live link, doing the whole thing, and I record it, and
Oh, I
I
see.
come back and I want to use the neuron blend. Can I do that?
At the moment, right now, we have to test it, but I believe once that data is recorded, you can't you can, unless you recorded the data inside of Access Studio to restream the data through the live link, you could re-record that. But once it's recorded inside of Unreal Engine, it's kind of baked, essentially. All right. So it looks great. No, I like how it looks. You know, the metahuman is moving around pretty well. There's good foot contact. There's good movement on the character here. So you could essentially use this for real-time virtual production for a lot of animations and stuff like that. And you can definitely rely on the data being very good. Now, this also supports PN3. So if you have a perception on 3, you can also use this neuron blend that we're showing. So there's nothing, we're not hiding from anything. We're showing it, we're giving it, making it available for a lot of users out there. So I like how this is going. We will look into doing another live stream for the face capture, and we're going to have a special guest so that they can walk us through with the face capture on the next video. So stay tuned for our next upcoming video. So that essentially covers the MetaHumans quick walkthrough, right? So with the, let me go ahead and save this before I move any forward, because you never know, Unreal Engine 5 might crash. So you always want to make sure you save. So we'll go into another scene here. Let me go ahead and get rid of the BP character here, because we're going to switch over to a Mixamo character. And the reason why I want to show a Mixamo character is because we have essentially a couple of different workflows. And this is because we are using a different skeleton. You can see that I already set up the blueprint on this character. What I'll do is I'll go back into Access, I'll go back to Access Studio, and I'll set up the data for this character. So let's go into the settings, and I'm going to change this to Access Studio Thumb Open, because we're using a different skeleton. We're using a T-pose character. And we'll go back and we'll see that now the character is ready to go. So if we go into the blueprint for this character, I've already did my homework here before we jump into the call. Let's put this aside. Essentially, we're doing the same process. We're just using the live link pose, right? And we're sending this data over to our output pose. I have my character from Access Studio selected. On the live link pose, I have the PNS robot selected as a remap asset so that the data comes in straight to our character. Now, this is typical, workflow that we have a lot of users take. However, like I mentioned, now we have a new little added bonus for a lot of users coming up, which is the retargeting help. And this is the nice little node that developers created. This is the foot skate cleanup. If you guys have a better name, it'll be interesting to hear some ideas. Share it in the comments. Essentially, it's quite easy. All you have to do is just right click on this and type in foot skate cleanup, and then it'll show up there. So let's go ahead and attach this. Let's go ahead and make sure that we can take a look at how the data looks right now before we get started. Okay, so this is essentially the data that I'm getting. And let's make sure that we are back in Access Studio here so we can make sure, let's restart a couple of nodes here. And let me reset my posture here. right? And then let's go into the Unreal Engine here. And let's just have a quick look at the foot contact. I want you guys to focus on the foot contact, right? Let's make sure that I'm focusing on the foot contact. Let me know if any questions come up. I'm more than happy to just pause for a little bit. You can see there's a lot of issues with the foot contact. There might be a little bit of a slide on the foot. And let's make sure that we have. Let's go back into the advanced BVH. I'll disable displacement because we don't need it for the T-pose characters. And that's why we're having that little issue with. Give me 1 second while I search for my mouse here. Bear with me, my mouse is missing on my screen. Any other questions while we look at this right now?
I'm just going through a couple different questions in the chat that I'm answering. Mr. 3D was asking about drift when he's using the system, and if there's any way to mitigate that as he has to reset. I suggested using the space lock, which is a new feature to kind of keep you within that 2 meter by 2 meter square that you'll see in that system, so that way you don't drift. You'll be able to do the reset pose, but it won't drift you so far off. You'll move a little bit, but you'll stay within. Essentially, it's like a bounding box. You'll stay within there.
So yeah, it's a good topic. The drift situation, we've improved a lot since years. We're at a fourth generation of hardware here. We've done a lot of improvements with the drift. Essentially, the things that we recommend is make sure your sensors are calibrated before you start a mocap session. Very important, and you follow the proper posture calibration. The space lock is an added bonus where we're just making sure that users minimize the drift while they're doing performance on the stage or something like that. So it's more or less like an additive fix, but always make sure your sensors are calibrated and you're doing a posture calibration. If there are any issues, just send us an email. We'll definitely walk you through. More than happy to help you out with that. So going back to the situation with the foot contact, you see there's a lot of issues with foot sliding there. So we're testing out essentially the contact here would, I'm wrong. Okay, so here we go. So this is the animation blueprint for our Mixamo character. I'm going to add the new node that we're working on. And I'm just putting this right between the connection. So I'll go ahead and add that. I'll hit compile. And now we'll see that the contact point for this character is much better, is much more reliable. Our team is working on updates for this new feature that we're going to be adding over. So let me make sure that I'm showing you guys this. Again, this is a foot skate cleanup here that we are using. So we're improving on the contact points. There's obviously, a lot of room for improvement with this feature here. And we're going to be working more or less with, characters for like Mixamo, for other characters that are customized characters, and also metahumans for users. So any other questions? Yeah.
So you just mentioned a couple of the different skeletons. So like the new GitHub link that will eventually make its way to the LiveLink plugin. What are the different supported skeletons that one will be able to use to make sure that they mitigate this foot sliding?
So right now the team is still working in like a checklist to make sure that we can support a lot of different characters. They're going first with the metahumans, and they're working down with the next step would be working with standard T-pose characters that are going to be needing this retargeting feature. So we're essentially going to try to cover a lot of the different workflows users are working with. I think the next process would be essentially the mannequin A pose, which is actually a different skeleton, but we're working down the list on adding features like that, so users can take benefit of the contact points that we're cleaning up for users. That's basically the feature that I wanted to cover with users. let me go back into the system here. So we covered Mixamo and generic characters. We already covered the Footscape cleanup that is in process, is in the works. It's in beta. So we definitely want users to test it out. We'll have a video shortly on that to walk users through that process. So definitely stay tuned for that. I will go ahead and open to Q&A.
Yes.
So
Uh, yeah, got a
anybody has
couple questions. So, if you're using both Neuron Blend and the upcoming Footscape node,
right.
what does it look like when you're doing contact points? Whether that's standing on the floor, going up elevation, going down steps. What does that look like?
So what it'll entitle is, when you go into Access Studio, we provide contact points for the feet and hands. So essentially what's going to happen is that data is going to transfer over to Unreal Engine. Before we would have a lot of challenges because it was just a one-way data. Now with this feature, we're able to send also not only mocap data, we're also able to receive the skeleton data from Unreal Engine and then align the contact points back over to Unreal Engine. So essentially, what you get in Access Studio is what you're going to get inside of Unreal Engine. Now, that covers a lot of the contact points. Always keep in mind, of course, if you're working with characters that are very quite small. Let's say I'm 165 centimeters. If you're working with a character that's 140, there's always going to be some a little bit of a shot off discrepancy there with the contact points on the hands, for example. But those are definitely things to trial and test. However, the contact point data is going to be transferred over to Unreal Engine, so you'll be able to maintain that, which has been quite the biggest challenging part from day one with Unreal Engine. Any other questions?
Uh, any questions, guys? Drop them into the chat. I think if you have Access Studio so open, if you could just put the space lock, just so it could be a quick visual reference to see, if you zero yourself out and then do space
Yeah.
lock, so we can get a look at what that looks like. So Daniel's going into software solver parameters and doing space lock. And again, this creates a 2 meter by 2 meter space. So as Daniel essentially now he moves around, you'll see that he won't go beyond 2 squares on either side. So that's forward, back. So if he goes back, you'll see that it stops him. If he moves forward, he'll actually stop on the other side as well.
Yeah. Okay, so that shows the space lock situation where you have a 2 by 2 meter. It's an invincible box where it's going to lock you through like a cage or per se. So that's going to help you maintain a good tracking data for that volume essentially. We'll go back into the QA here. Any other questions so far?
Any other questions, guys? Drop them in. Otherwise, I think we'll go through a quick wrap up. I'll just keep you guys updated. Obviously, the team is working on the Unreal sort of plugin that's in continual development, different things. And then we have an updated release of Access Studio 2.9 coming out pretty soon. So we've also been working on that, which obviously it's always small things both on the firmware side and the hardware to make sure that we are able to maximize the quality of the data that you are getting.
There's another feature that's added with this 2.9 version 2. This is going to help out a lot of game developers. We're adding this is kind of a small little detail, but very important for game developers. We're going to allow the reference point to be exported for Unreal Engine exports. That's quite crucial, especially if you're going to be retargeting. If you're going to be using a lot of the functions with Unreal Engine, it's been a wide requested feature, and that's going to be available for 2.9.
So question, what recommendations do you have, Daniel, to get a more accurate hand position? Making sure that your hands aren't clipping through the body, sort of overlapping, which is always going to take place, but
Right.
what kind of tips and tricks do you have to sort of mitigate that as much as possible?
So this is more of a retargeting question. Access Studio's job is definitely to record, to capture the essentially the real time data from a user. So you want to make sure you have the body size selected from the user. I already have on my selection. I have 165 centimeters selected, and essentially what we're doing is that we're capturing real world data. that data is going to be sent over to Unreal Engine or any other tools like Motion Builder. Unreal Engine has the capability to record that data. If your character's, for example, a heavy set character, you have a couple of options. You either tell the performer to act like you have, that size or, volume of body, or you can have an animator essentially bake that data to the control rig and fix the position of the hands. Um, there's another workflow that users do have is basically, let's say, for example, a character is like 3 feet tall. You can essentially have the performer try to act like, the little small character. However, some users have kind of used a different workflow where they've actually created another skeleton profile inside of Access Studio to match that character. So you kind of have like almost a one-to-one from skeleton data to Access Studio over to your target character. However, it goes back to that process where you want the performer to act like that, character essentially. So always, number one, get some, make sure you have some good mocap actors, and just kind of be conscious about what's the size of my skeleton that I'm sending.
Mhm.
What's the size of my skeleton that's receiving the data? Should I clean it up? Should I have the performer add that posture? And how much cleanup you want to do in post for a control rig or inside of Motion Builder. So those are things in production where you kind of discuss with your team what's the best workflow and the fastest.
Cool. I have. I'll do one more question unless anything else comes into the chat. But I'd put a question out in the polls for the community, and I was asking whether they were using primarily UE4 and UE5, and unsurprisingly, it is UE5 with like a 92% usage, which is great. I'm glad that everyone's using it.
Okay.
Obviously, you mentioned in the beginning that
Right.
UE5 is still in sort of
Right.
not in a beta phase, but still has its sort of quirks that one can be using. What kind of advice do you have for someone that is using Unreal 5 with Perception Neuron, to make sure that they are getting the best results and making sure that, they are going to get stable data and, potentially what issues they might be running into?
Well, that's a big question for production. One of the things that you always want to cover is your bases with our hardware and software. For the most part, we do a lot of real time data, and you want to make sure that the data is right off the bat. It's almost like when you're working with VFX producers, fix it in post, fix it in post. You always want to make sure you try to do as much as you can before you start doing any live data recording. Our hardware is very reliable as far as real-time data. You just have to make sure you maintain the sensor calibration, you do your pulse calibration, and you're set to go. Always maintain a good sensor placement. You want to make sure your sensors are not moving during the performance. We do have compression suits to fix that possible issue where you just want the sensors to be on the performer at all times. So there's also those little inputs. As far as the data inside of Unreal Engine, it's more or less of like I mentioned before. Do you want to have the data baked right away from the performer doing the performance? Or do you want to fix it in post with control rig and kind of, fixing a little bit of the animation through animation layers or something like that? So a lot of different questions that need to be handled through production and yourself to see if you're working with a team or by yourself. If you're working by yourself, you might want to do the animation on your own. Take care of that before you send it over to your character. If you have a team, maybe have a different approach. So it all depends on your pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mr. 3D is like, I hate the term "fix it in post," which I think rings very deep. Daniel comes from a 3D background. He was a 3D
Yeah.
generalist working on productions, and he knows very well the difficulties of that. One thing I will be bringing up is that we do have a couple people from our team going to Unreal Fest, and that's coming up in October. Obviously, it's coming up quite quickly. So if anyone here is watching, we will have a presence over at Unreal Fest. We're really excited to see what's new and upcoming, and just again connecting with the community and discussing ideas and seeing what improvements we can make, what different things we can talk about, and just kind of enjoy the whole Unreal Fest in New Orleans.
New
Any
Orleans.
final thoughts? Any other thoughts that you have there, Daniel?
No other thoughts. I want to thank everybody who joined us. We'll keep in. We're hearing a lot of the emails that are coming through. So if you have any questions after this after this video, just send us an email at contact@neuromocap.com.
Yeah.
If you want to have also a demo, I'll put it up here on the screen here. So we have demos on our website. We personalize these demos. We cater to what you guys have questions to. A lot of questions come in, and we love to hear them. A lot of challenges come up. We like to hear them because we always want to make sure that we help a lot of users who want to go into the mocap realm, or users who have already been there for 20 years and want to see the new technologies out there. So we do a one-on-one. We also want to show you, discover different techniques that our suits have introduced. So any other input that you want to have, Alex, on that one?
Last slide.
Last leg?
Last slide. The
Last
last
slide.
slide.
Oh, right.
Last slide. So,
All right.
so
There you
last
go.
slide. So this is something that we've been bouncing around back and forth with the community, and so officially we have a Discord channel now. You can look at under Neuron, Perception Neuron, General Motion Capture. There's the Discord. I will be putting the link again back onto the chat here for anyone that wants to join. Real quick, you can find it. Give me 1 second. I'm putting it again. Invite people. I'm inviting people.
Yeah, the link
Um,
is on the page.
it's on there as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially, the whole idea for the Discord is creating a space for the community. We really wanted to have our users share their ideas, share their projects, share what's happening. Right. It's also a place to discover other people to start working with and building up. A network. So whether you are an individual artist or a user using Perception Neuron and you want to connect with another Perception Neuron user, or you need mocap data, you need something, this is a really great way to start opening that up. Again, it's not going to be an official way to get support. We are going to have a troubleshooting channel there, which is going to be mostly community driven. For anything that is very specific towards hardware or replacements or anything, we still 100% recommend that you email us through contact@neuronmocap.com, where Daniel and Rachel and the rest of the support team will be there to assist. Daniel is on the Discord. I am on the Discord. We'll use that as a funnel to kind of give like impromptu news, information, give you updates on new YouTube channels and videos that are coming up. Give us recommendations on what you want to see. We're also trying to do this a little bit more, and we're building this out for you guys. But really excited to have this community grow. And just have the support of everyone and see how we continue to see Perception Neuron used worldwide. So those are my final thoughts. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll be planning our next stream. So any ideas, shoot them over to us.
All right, great. Well, thank you guys. Till next time.